Welcome guys back to another video. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really want to record this car, like what we are going to do on it, because it's going to have the carbon cleaning and the exhaust camshaft inspection, which we do quite a lot on the channel, so it's quite usual, maybe boring for someone, but the owner was keen on and he wanted his car to be featured on the channel. He said, I believe he told Dan, to make his car famous. Another thing, the car is beautiful, it's too clean. The problem is that it is too clean because his profession is a cleaner, and yeah, he does great job definitely, because the car is immaculate. It's like I rather don't even want to touch it, it's that clean. So yeah, we need to give it to him back in the same or similar condition, which will be difficult obviously because we're doing like walnut blasting and the engine work. But yeah, so it came for carbon cleaning and exhaust camshaft inspection, but it has the DPF light on, which came on for the owner last Thursday. Today is Monday, so we're going to inspect that and tell you more about it. But now let me switch the camera and just do like an initial assessment, what we can see from the engine bay, and I'm going to jump into the cabin and check the live data and tell you a bit more about how I check those values. So yeah, let's get closer to the engine. As you can see, every plastic is shiny and nice and clean. I wasn't here when the owner brought the car because I was away, so Dan received or greeted the owner. He told me about the drive belt. As you can see, there are like horizontal cracks. We're going to recommend the replacement of the drive belt, and then also mentioned the coolant, so let's check that. The color, I would say, is green. It's fine, but the car being 2014 model, the recommended interval of changing the coolant, I think according to Mazda, is 10 years, so we're going to recommend the owner to get it changed. We can see that the valve cover hasn't been removed because that yellow brown-ish silicone bubble sealant is sticking out from underneath the valve cover. And also let's have a look at that clamp, and it is facing towards the cabin, so that hasn't been removed. The valve cover hasn't been removed. Obviously the valve cover hasn't been removed, but neither the intake manifold. And as we can see, the exhaust pressure sensor is the new one, the upgraded one, but we are going to clean it, or at least test, and if it is dirty we're going to definitely clean it, because it is the easiest when the valve cover is off and when the AGR cooler is off. So we are going to do that. Other than that, I can't see anything else inside the engine bay. So now let me jump into the car and show you the live data and what fault code the car has and what we are going to do it, and like how we will try to solve the issue it has. So as you can see, the car has the DPF inspection required light on, and it is just the ignition on, so the engine is not running. Let me show you what the owner or the client gave us, which we quite like, these little notes and hints and tips. So we can see that the car has been serviced quite regularly. The vacuum pump has been replaced. I would say if it has been replaced because it threw a code, that was because of the bad camshaft. And I can see the exhaust pressure sensor was replaced as well. We're going to check the pipe underneath it if it is blocked, and also going to check the live data. But now let me turn on the engine and show you the live data. So the DPF inspection light stays on, and I've done like a 5-6 mile round, and I got the MPG of around 44.5. I reset, when I did reset that, the owner had around 36 MPG, which I would say it is fairly or quite low. And yeah, let me show you the range as well. So it says, or like in theory you should be able to do 183 miles with the half tank, little bit less than half tank, which in my opinion is quite low. You should do more with these engines if it would be working properly. But anyways, now let me show you the live data, and as I wanted, so do it a little bit differently, because again it's a carbon cleaning and the valve cover or the exhaust camshaft inspection video. But like a lot of you guys asked in the comments, like what do I check in the live data, or if I can go slower with the live data values. So what I check, obviously I check the brake booster pressure sensor. It should be sitting as it is now, so 7.6 kPa. That's when it's new, or like when it's working properly. Also, someone mentioned that I should use the imperial units, or some like different units. I mean, you can convert it to online, and the reason I'm saying kPa or kilopascals, because as you can see, my scan tool is showing in those units. So yeah, but feel free to convert it to bars, whatever you want to use. The next thing I check is the camshaft crankshaft position. So this on the camshaft and crankshaft position, actual differential without adaptation. Well, that number shouldn't be more than 10 degrees, I believe. But to be honest, I never rely on that number, because I think it's not quite accurate if you take it that way. The next one I'm checking is, I always like check the engine coolant temperature, the EGR valves positions, like how open, how close they are. So as you can see, now we are idling and the bypass cooler valve is working. It is at 9.02 degrees. And yeah, the oil pressure I check. So the engine oil pressure is above 80 degrees, and the car is running at high oil pressure at the, like if it is over, I'm not sure if it is over 80 or over 85, but let me rev the car and you will see even at 2000 rpm the car will be having like around 300 kPa of engine oil pressure. So yeah, now you see nearly 400, and even if I rev further to 3500 rpm, it will stay the same, because it is running on the high oil temperature, oil pressure, as the temperature of the oil is higher, and therefore the oil is thinner, so it wants to keep the pressure higher. If the oil temperature is below 1780 degrees, you should be seeing at 2000 rpm 180 kPa around, and and at 3500 rpm you should be seeing at least 360 kPa. Now to the exhaust pressure sensor. Well, the values are fine at the moment, but obviously we will check the pipe underneath that sensor if it is blocked or not, the differential pressure of the exhaust gas. So that number should be around 0.3 kPa, and as you can see, it is jumping between 1 and 1.5, let's say. So that is high. The next one I usually check is the correction factors of the injectors. Yeah, so you see those four, those should be between negative 0.7 and positive 0.7. That means they are in the range, but closer to the zero the better. These are very close to the zero, so they look fine. Again, I check sometimes the mass airflow. It is like the range is good, so you can't really know anything about like from it. If it is very off of the range, then you may like have a guess that something is wrong with the car. Also, map sensor and the desired pressure of the map sensor. So I don't know why, but on these older models it is showing 8 kPa and desired is 82, but they are matching, so it is 80 kPa. I don't know why it's like that. On the newer ones they are matching, so it is 80 kPa and this is 82 kPa, so difference is like very little. A little by little I mean less than 10 kPa, so it is fine. You can know there is a problem when, let's say, the desired is more by 30 kPa than the actual. Also, let's check when was the last oil change done. So 3,740 kilometers ago, and the oil dilution is nearly 200 grams, which is a lot. Yeah, and also like a funny or interesting thing, so the engine oil pressure control circuit valve is not working. It is I think it is in a closed position or fully open position, so it's not working, and hence letting all the pressure like flowing through it, so like maximizing the oil pressure. Usually it is between 50 and 60% of the duty cycle. And now here we can see the DPF, the accumulation of the particulate matter. Like once these numbers, I believe when they get to 6.5, it will start triggering the regen, and we can check when the last regen was done, which is 54 kilometers ago. And the reason this is filling so fast, it will trigger another regen quite early, so that's why it is having that DPF light. But now let me and then disassemble the car, like the engine bay from the intake port side and the valve cover, and then we'll show you how the things look like underneath that. So after a couple of minutes later, we have removed the intake manifold and the valve cover. So let's have a look at the intake ports at the first side. Like, it is not that bad. The car, I believe, has around 90k on the clock, so 90,000 miles or 88 or 83, I'm not 100% sure, but it is not that bad. But let's have a look at the top of the engine, and that is fairly bad. Look at the camshaft, how badly worn that is. And if you can have a look at here, it's even want to like break off. I don't want to touch it because I don't want anything to fall inside the cylinder head, but that one wants to fall off or break off. I hope you can see it properly. So yeah, now we're going to let the customer know that he will need a new camshaft and a new drive belt. We recommend replacing the coolant as well, but again, it is up to him because it is the proper coolant, at least in it, and the proper color. But I would say it definitely degraded over the time if it hasn't been replaced at all. And then we are going to check with the vacuum gun the resistance, or if there is any vacuum or resistance in that pipe, in that metal pipe underneath that sensor, because now it is the easiest to get that unblocked. So just need to remove the sensor, heat it up with blowtorch and blow air in it, and it will come out from here, from the EGR cooler side. Yeah, so now let me make a call and alert or let the customer know what we found out on his car. So here is the new camshaft installed. It is nice and shiny, and now Dan's going to be finishing the top off. So put back the valve cover, sealant on the four corners here, there, here, and over there as well, and tightening down the valve cover so he can do the carbon cleaning, because what we want to avoid that any walnut media get into the engine. Now he's turning over the engine just to make sure it is spinning freely as it should. Nothing like it doesn't lock up didn't lock up the engine. Once he verified that, as I said, he's going to put the valve cover on top of it and close it off so that nothing can get into the cylinder head, and then he can start the carbon cleaning. So we are finished with the carb cleaning. Here you can see the result, and let me show you the intake port here from the valve. It is beautiful, as good as brand new. So Dan's going to put this one back together, and in the meanwhile I'm going to disassemble that one, because that one came for the very same job. So carb cleaning, exhaust pressure sensor replacement, exhaust camshaft replacement, drive belt replacement, and an oil change. So I'm going to do that, and meanwhile Dan's going to assemble this one back together and then we're going to test it after the repairs. So the red Mazda is done. Then he's just reversing out of the unit. He's done the final touches, so he just changed the oil. Before, I've done the DPF cleaning with the gun. I have a video on my YouTube channel because the DPF was very blocked, and I was surprised or shocked, but that gun or that fluid helped a lot to it. So initially, like, it was a blockage and a lot of back pressure, but as the fluid went through it, it got unblocked. Then I drove it home, test drove it, and the car didn't do regen around 70 miles so far. Still hasn't done. So we will let the owner know and tell him that he should drive the car, monitor it, and check when it does the regen. But by the values, by the differential pressure values, it looks okay. So yeah, we consider this one a success. Obviously, the owner has to monitor it, how often the DPF regens. If it is in, I would say, 140, 150 miles, every region happens, like the mileage between the two regions is 150 miles, it should be okay. But yeah, the car drives nicely, it's fine. It has very good MPG. I believe I managed to average around 60 or over 60 MPG on that when I drove it home. So yeah, that was nice. Yeah, so we are still waiting for the cylinder head for that one to get done or finished for us. Yeah, my girlfriend is washing that red one in the background, and what you may see on the other video, this Mazda with a lot of problems, the owner decided to get the drive belt tensioner replaced and that fuel line, because those are like urgent or quite bad. Yeah, and then we can see, or we will see where we are, or like how we go from there. But that's the major, that's the most important. So yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and get that done with Dan. And yeah, there are other things. Oh yeah, finally his car has arrived without the engine, but the engine is here behind us. So we are going to crack on and get that one fitted into his car. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you soon guys in the very next video. Take care and bye bye.